Hey guys, Jeff Schneider here. We're back after a little hiatus, but I'm happy to be here. So let's get started. I'm going to take a question from the YouTube comments. This one is from Passion613. How do you determine or find the key centers? Question mark. I think the question here is talking about how sometimes you're trying to figure out what key a song is in or a solo, and it might be you're reading a song with music, you're reading the notes and you're trying to figure it out, or you're listening to it. I'm going to address the latter, the listening to it part, because I think that's what's most difficult. So when you're trying to figure out the key center of a song, the first thing to do is listen to it and see if you can find out what that one note is that sounds most resolved. I like to call it the home note. It's the note that if you sing, sounds like there's nowhere else it could go. It's the most resolved note. So, for instance, if I play this, I'm going to play a series of notes, and I'm going to sing the last note that I play, and then I'm going to sing down the scale, and when I get to the note that sounds most resolved, I'm going to stop, and that will hopefully be the key center of the little line that I play here. So here's the line. Okay, so that last note there was da, 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 da. If I sing down the scale, I go da, da. So that feels very resolved to me. Let me play another example. Okay, that last note right there is here, and let me sing down the scale till I stop. So I stop right here. This is the home note. So if I can figure out what this note is, then I'll be able to figure out what the key center is. Let me figure it out. I know what it is, obviously. Okay, get the idea? You're singing the note that sounds most resolved by picking one of the notes from the melody and singing down the scale. You could do it up the scale too. I think down the scale tends to work a little bit better. Now, a lot of the time what happens when I have people do this is they'll just sing down a scale, like they might sing down 7 notes, like a normal scale, like, for instance, that last note, and they'll go ba, 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 and then they'll end up in a different key because they'll just sing down a 7-note scale. So I'm not talking about singing down a full scale. I'm talking about singing down the scale that intuitively sounds like it belongs in the key. So trust your ear and sing down the scale that comes from your gut, the scale that you think sounds best within the context of the song you're listening to. This is not the easiest thing to do in the world if you're just starting out, but get in the habit of listening to music, picking notes from that song, and singing down the scale until you hit the key center, until you hit the note that sounds most resolved. Now, if that's way too difficult, here's another approach that you can use. And it's actually similar to what I said at the beginning of the video, where if you're reading music, it's often easier to figure out what the key center is because you can kind of guesstimate based on the notes that you see. So for instance, if you have a melody or a song and you're able to figure out what the notes are, whether it is you have the sheet music or you're able to figure out what the notes are by transcribing it note for note, you can kind of put together that, for instance, if I'm playing, let's say the solo I'm transcribing or the melody I'm transcribing is this. Okay, all of those notes, if you put them all together and you figured them out, it would make up a G major scale. My G major, concert B flat, everybody. Because it has the F sharp. F sharp indicates that we're in G major. It doesn't have any other sharps or flats in it, which again it helps the case of G major. So figuring out what the notes are and then deducing the key from that information is another way of figuring out what the key center is, because you're able to put it all together and figure it out that way. One other way you can do it is, and this doesn't always work, but it's one approach, is to look at the first and last note of a melody, or especially the last note. Oftentimes a note or a song will end with the root of the key, or the one of the key, or the key center. Let's take All the Things You Are for an example. I'll play the last section, the melody of the last section, and I'll hold at that last note. And that last note is actually the key center. Check it out. Hear how resolved that note feels? It's F or concert A flat, and that's the key of the song. All the Things You Are is in the key of A flat major, concert. You can take Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. That ends on the key center. Speaking of easy nursery rhyme type songs, that's really good material for practicing the exercise I talked about before, where you pick a note and you sing down the scale, because in those very simple songs, the key centers are very well spelled out with the melody notes. If you sing this note, you can sing down the scale and you'll end up on the key center. All right, guys, let's leave it at that. I talked about a few different approaches for identifying key centers. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See ya.